and wonderful insight. We're based here in North Fork, Nebraska, where Stanley Price family has lived all of the family life. And we're going to hit a few hot spots. The first house that Stanley and Alberta were going to live in was 205 Prospect, and you can see how beautiful it is. We crammed, I don't know how many kids into this place, but they lived in it for a few years. We're pretty close to Jefferson School, where a lot of us went to kindergarten, and near Johnson's Park, which provided many memories that might pop up later. Some of the neighbors were the Stangeys and Joyce Wilcox and daughter Tammy, and I guess Mom said a lady named Mrs. Tibbs. But quite the place for a young family to start. We drove a '63 Falcon station wagon and just had all sorts of things going on here. Tim, you got anything to add?
Get a shot of the Stange residence right behind us over here in this greenhouse on the corner.
All right, we'll cut. Hang on. The Stangeys were probably us boys' favorite family. They had Bob, Bruce, Scott, and Dean later on, about the same ages, and we played all sorts of, between the Prices and the Stangeys, we had football teams, basketball, just any type of team you wanted. But since then, we moved from 205 Prospect back in about 1965 and carried everything just down the street. Mom and Dad just happened to find a house that was meeting their new needs with all the new members popping up into the family. They searched around, and just down a couple blocks on 208 Cottonwood was a big house that needed a lot of work, but that was just fine for old Stan. And they bought the house. Was just a big house. As you see it now, of course, there's some changes, but basically the middle floor we used, and Dad finished off the basement. We took out a huge furnace, coal furnace, finished off the floor, just rebuilt a lot of the inside, and probably one of the biggest things was that they used the upstairs for college girls. For several years, they rented out the top 2-3 bedrooms to such people as, let's see, a girl named Sharon and Marge Rakowski, who is still now here living in Lincoln, or in Norfolk, plus various others who they've kind of almost became part of the family. The upstairs later on was used for some of us boys because we needed the extra space. We lived here for about, I don't know, 10 years, whatever, from 65 to 75. The tree that you see in front, the ash, was bought from the Norfolk Nursery. We moved from here once Mom and Dad made the decision to go start and become involved with owning their own nursery. The changes were all sorts. The upstairs you see solar panels. That was something added later on. There was a back staircase for the girls to go up and down the stairs. There was a huge tree in back that must have been gone. There was never any grass because the kids trampled everything. But many memories. Around the house we had such neighbors as Mrs. Sherlow, Clara Sherlow. Her and her husband Hank were very hospitable and very nice people. Mrs. Witherholt was a widow, lived right next to them. For many years we did the mowing, raking, different things for her. On this side of the 208, some of the Eakers. I'm not sure the two boys' names, but maybe someone can think of those as you're watching this later on at TV. The Hendersons were just to the north with their daughter, and I believe, from my own memory, I was down in Lincoln in one of the chiropractor's office, and I think I either met her or her cousin, who happened to remember the same place, same neighborhood and everything. We're still just a few blocks from Johnson's Park. We never moved that far. We just changed to a bigger house, had a lot more room, made a lot of improvements, but still only sold it, I think, pretty reasonably when we moved out to the nursery. This is the back side going down the alley. Right across from the alley from us was a family by the name of Ziegenbein. Around the corner was the Brummans, Danny, Jay, and the crew. We also need to mention the names of Art Felger and Mrs. Cartwright. We're among some of the other neighbors around in this area. What you're looking at is totally different. I guess there's now 3 apartments made in this house. There used to be a big tree garden, some trees back here. There was monkey bars, of course, that we used quite a bit. But now, evidently, someone's bought it and made it into 3 apartments for whoever. We are moving now to the place, local residents, the Norfolk Nursery. Since moving from town, Mrs. Gibbs and Clarence Brubaker were owners of this, but Mom and Dad somehow were, it appealed to them to bring the whole family out here and run a regular tree nursery. It turned out that Mom's mom, Grandma Sheets, had just passed away and left the inheritance, $10,000, I believe, to each of the kids. That was the down payment for this place, around $60,000 for the whole nursery at that time. They made the decision, which had to be a real tough decision, but with 7 kids coming up, seemed like there was plenty of workers, and Mrs. Gibbs and Clarence made it sound like we could sure make a go of it. So in about 73, they bought and we moved out to this house, which hasn't changed a whole lot. About the only thing that has changed is the planting of that cottonwood. The garage is new, and there's a greenhouse that we will show you a little bit later on our tour of the Norfolk Nursery. On a typical day, the customers park right here, and we'll show you exactly kind of what they see. Plenty of annuals and vegetable plants shipped in from various places like Clarkson and Wayne. A few modifications to the nursery, the shop, but pretty much what you see is what's been here for many years. Always been fun cleaning that chemical case and putting new bottles of chemicals back up there. The greenhouse is small, but back in the fall of 1976, we put a new roof on here. I remember that very well because all of us boys wanted to watch the 76 Olympics, but we had to come out here and work on the greenhouse. Fiberglass top, burlap for shading purposes during the heat of the summer. Just a few benches, really. As far as greenhouses go, it's pretty small, but just a variety of plants for whatever taste the customer has. One of the oddities of the nursery is what's commonly known as the pit. That's what Mrs. Gibbs referred to it as, and all it is just a big, I guess you'd say it's just a pit. It's where the trees are stored early in the spring. We bring them from the nurseries up in Minnesota, bare root, bring them to keep them cold so that they don't start growing, into the pit. There hasn't been much change. There's sphagnum and mulch that they use to keep the roots wet and moist. The ceiling was done with tin a few years ago. But basically what you see is a cold storage area. We can keep trees in here up until mid-May with just keeping them dormant so that the life can sound a little bit easier out of bare root space. A lot of the plants have changed throughout the years. We've shipped in more of the flowering varieties lately, but the bins full of different deciduous plants, shrubs, fruit trees, shade trees. The aluminum building back, the Balin building, we affectionately know as the dirt shed. Pile of dirt is shredded every fall for the spring's potting. This year, 1989, was the first year that the half circle, the greenhouse, was put up. And so far it looks like it'll serve its purpose here at the nursery. But basically, again, most things have stayed the same. Spruce, ash trees, potentilla, different things have come and gone, but the dirt shed and the greenhouse were additions done by the Price family. The growing field is about 8 acres or so. Usually the normal type of operation is to plant and replant and dig. Clarence taught us boys how to dig, and now it's a little bit bare. There's not much out here anymore. The trees in the back outline Baber's greenhouses fields. We don't have a whole lot out here anymore, but the shrubs and stuff such as Fitzers, Sutherlands, junipers, some arborvitae, ash, shade trees, a few things out here, but many memories of rototilling, digging, spraying, hoeing, irrigating. There's a small pump here on the place. Moving all of that provided young boys and young girls plenty of hours of all sorts of developing nice work habits. But we did buy the field in the back. Mom and Dad have just paid that off. There's nothing growing back there, but the plans, I'm not sure what the plans are. Who knows what the plans are for the nursery? But we will start now with the family, and to lead us off, we are going to the patriarch of the Price family.
Stanley Price, the son of Ernest Price, who came out here from Indiana about the turn of the century. He homesteaded north of O'Neill in about 1904. He married Mary Elizabeth Nachman in 1912, and they had 9 boys, no girls. I am the youngest and quite a little younger than my other brothers. My first real memories start with World War II in about 1941 or 42, and remembering brothers going to the war. I grew up around O'Neill, graduated from St. Mary's in 49. One of the highlights of my family is I had 3 brothers that were priests. The other 5 were pretty good guys too. I served in the Korean War, and when I got out, I came to Norfolk within a few months. I've lived here since December 6th of 54. I came to Norfolk to run a donut shop, a Dixie Cream donut shop. It was a wholesale business. We went to work at midnight. We got out of that again in May 4th of 59. And then I've done different jobs since then. In this period that I was in the donut shop, I met my wife, Alberta. We got married in 56. April 3rd of 56 on a very snowy spring blizzard. We've had 7 children. As I say, I had done many jobs through the 1960s, and in 72 we bought the nursery. We moved out here December 16th of 72, so 73 was our first spring, and as of the time of this, we've had with this our 17th year.
What in the world did you ever think of when you bought the nursery? You had no money, you had 7 kids, and you had no experience in the nursery business, what happened?
I'm the kind of a guy that thinks I can learn. I'm the kind of a guy that figured I could do some managing and a lot of work. And I knew I had 7 good kids coming that were strong and were smart, and I thought it would be a good place to raise the family. I have worked for many people, and I've seen many poor foremen, and I've seen some good ones. And I was going to try and draw on the ability to organize. And people keep the kids a-working, and we would make progress. I just was dumbfounded how much work it was, and how tired you got working with dirt. It's heavy, it's hot work, but I just put my trust in the Lord and my family and decided we could go ahead with this, because I realized that a rural setting.
Here we go.
My family consists of 3 brothers and I had 2 sisters. Now 2 of the brothers have passed away. One drowned at 18 in the Alcorn River east of O'Neill, and one died of a heart attack 11 years ago at age 52. I have 2 sisters living at Elgin. Both of their children are raised, and I have one brother living in Norfolk who is a bachelor, never married, and has a beautiful home and yard. I was actually born north of Clearwater and raised southwest of Clearwater on a farm. And we were very, very poor, as most people were those days. And had to work hard to survive. Dad and I met, as he probably told you, at a dance at Ewing. And he thought I was very, very young. He thought I was probably 15 when I was really 19 years old. You know, one of those old maids. And we dated and planned on being married in September of 1955. And then my dad suddenly passed away in July. So we decided to wait. I decided we would wait until April the following year. And I thought if he cared for me, he would wait, which he did. So we were married in 1956, and in 1957 started our family, which grew very rapidly.
Tell us, one of the places you moved to was the hog farm.
Oh, yes. Well, the hog farm was a place, an empty place that nobody had lived for a number of years. We had to clean it. There was no bathroom, no kitchen cabinets, no heat, no anything. And we moved out there in October when Tom was 3 months, July, August, September, 4 months old. And the first night we were out there, we had a space heater and had it lit. And the pipes blew out of its chimney, and we had soot all over our 3 little boys and us. That was a nice mess. We lived there just a few months and decided that wasn't what we wanted to do.
We got a shot of 205 Prospect, and then we went to 208 Cottonwood, and I know you had a lot of memories about 208 Cottonwood. Why don't you just tell us in about some of the neighbors, some of the people around 208 Cottonwood?
Clara Sherlow probably is the most outstanding one, in the fact that her and her husband were retired and they cared for you kids very much. They would watch you across the street, and of course she baked cookies for the little grandchildren of sorts. And there was also Mr. Felger. He and his wife lived next to Mrs. Sherlow, Clara. And they too, all of those people that were retired, seemed to enjoy those little kids. And we lived there, I think it was 8 years, during which time Bob and Barb were born. And we rented out the rooms upstairs to girls, and so they became a part of our family also, coming down and playing with the kids and babysitting at times. And I listened to a lot of their problems and tried to help them, but that was impossible. They all had to solve their own problems. But on the north side of us lived Clarence and Nancy Henderson, who we didn't really get along the greatest. And behind us lived Charles and Donna Ziegenbein, who we really didn't get along with. But other than that, most of the neighbors were nice, enjoyed the kids. The kids played together, and since it was close to Johnson Park, why, everybody had a great time, even though sometimes they were not supposed to be there and were. There was a lot of good times, but there was certainly plenty of bad. Of course, way back when we lived on East Prospect, was one of the worst things that happened to us was losing Vicky, who was 22 months old at that time, exactly the age that Elizabeth is now. And it's very hard to give up somebody like that. But the thing that 205 Prospect, with thinking of the Stangy boys and some of the other neighbor kids and our kids playing, oh boy, they played all sorts of games. They always had parades with their little tricycles and wagons and whatever, and they sold bottle caps to supposedly make money. And 208 Cottonwood, I suppose, since we lived there longer, we had a lot more memories.
But then,
Kids going to school and things.
Shut it up. Well, hi, my name is Terry. I'm the oldest of 8 children. 32 years old, married, have 1 daughter. I guess if I'm considered the locomotive of the Price Family Railroad, it's not necessarily because I'm out leading everything, it's just because I get pushed a lot by a lot of my brothers and sisters, which is not bad at all. I can remember being the oldest, of course. That means I get to remember or try to remember the most. I can remember starting off at 205 East Prospect and then moving over to 208. I remember renovating it and fixing it up, and then the actual moving of all the items over. About 3 months before my 16th birthday, we moved out here to the nursery. And I got a school permit because of the time I was outside the city limits. It's been fun watching all the people, my brothers and sisters, become older, become more mature, get married, have families, have all kinds of things. Yeah, Fuzzy has it.
you went to school and you pretty much went to be a mechanic at Northeast State. Why don't you tell us about your mechanical background?
Dad and I were kind of kicking it around. We thought it'd be a good idea, since I kind of liked mechanics at the time, that I go take the program out at Northeast Community College. So it was a 2-year program. I went to that. I went to it probably more as a hobby than anything else. I did not fit in with the guys out there at the school who lived, dreamed, and you know, their whole lives were dedicated to cars and to fixing and repairing and so forth. But it was fun, interesting, but it's changed so much since then, as far as electronics and so forth that I'd have to take it all over again.
One of the things I remember you and Tim were involved in that I was Boy Scouts.
Boy Scouts
the
was,
Stangies and all of that. What's some Boy Scout stories?
Boy Scouts was all right. It did take a lot of time though, but got to meet other kids, got to work with my brothers and family friends. Grew up, advanced through the ranks, advanced through the leadership. Became junior assistant scoutmaster before I became too old to actually be involved in it. Got to go on campouts and summer camps and do various activities. Meet some people.
Paper drives.
Paper drives. Go around, collect newspapers, and send them, take them to a place where we load them up on box cars and they'd ship down to Omaha and made into insulation.
The Norfolk Bank of Norfolk, has to be a big part of your life. You were there for many years, but you left. So
When I graduated from high school, I started working as a grill assistant at the Brass Lantern restaurant. About 2 months after I started that, I went to work as a drive-up window teller at the Bank of Norfolk. And I worked my way up from part-time to full-time, from the drive-up window envelope to a lobby teller to branch facility manager. I worked at the bank for 11 and a half years. I spent the last 7 years there at the Northside facility at Riverside and Benjamin Avenue. But I needed a change. I wasn't going to get any further at the bank than where I was at. So I had an opportunity to manage Snapshot City, which was a 1-hour photo development store. So in February of '87, I left the Bank of Norfolk and went to Snapshot City. Now, unfortunately, the machinery that the owner bought 1 year before I got there, was outdated already in 1 year, so he needed to replace it. But he didn't have enough money to replace it, so he had to shut down the store. So in July of '87, it went out of business. In August of '87, I started working for the district court office down at the Madison County Courthouse. I was in charge of alimony and child support and property settlement. That job lasted until the 1st of May of 1989, when I became manager of the Norfolk Regional Center Federal Credit Union, and that's where I'm at presently.
we gotta get one serious question. You've got your own family now.
Yeah.
How has Stanley and Alberta and the Price family, where are those kinds of things going to pop up in your family? What kind of characteristics are you going to have that?
Well, I'm going to be like Dad. I mean, I'm going to have his sense of humor and a lot of his mannerisms, I mean. Pat, I don't know where she's going to come in. Pat's been very, I suppose one of the reasons that I got with Pat, the same reason Dad got with Mom. She comes from a very close family, very caring, very concerned about people. Pat is a teacher, teaches high school math, so she's involved with children and so she's around them and knows kind of what to expect and how to go from there. So I suppose as time goes by, if our own family makes one of these type of tapes, we'll have other memories too. But that I'll probably be more like Dad, and Pat will be the close family part of it that Mom is to Dad.
I'm Pat. I married Terry. We met at a singles group through the church. And of course, I had my eye on him right from the start, but he started dating this girl that was just total opposite of me, so I thought for sure this was a hopeless cause, another one down the drain, but he saw the light eventually and we got together. My first impressions are hard to find because I knew 5 of the family before I met Terry. I taught Barb, Bob, and Peg in school. And speaking of teaching them in school, Barb was a real interesting story because we didn't get along at all. We clashed from the very start and didn't really like each other until we discovered that it was probably because our personalities were a lot alike. And now she's the godmother of my first child, which is just absolutely amazing because 5 years ago we would have thought that was an impossibility. The family is a wonderful place to be. I grew up in a little family, and as much as I dearly love them, it's so much fun to have all these people around. And they're all so kind and a little crazy at times, but they're a lot of fun. When I went to a picnic at Tim and Lori's before we were married, we were sitting around having supper. I think Peg and Barb and I and Stan were eating together at the same table. I was teaching at Humphrey St. Francis, and he asked me, "Do you know how tall the steeple is in St. Francis Church?" I thought, well, that's an odd question, but I'll figure it out. So meanwhile, Peg and Barb just started laughing and having a great time, and I couldn't figure out what was so funny about this. Come to find out that every person who has eventually joined the family has gotten a really strange question from Stan, and that was mine. I'm sure you'll hear some more of them later. I think that's all I have to say.
Oh, I'll throw in that.
Okay.
Off the top of your head. How many kids you gonna have?
Maybe 3.
Maybe 3. You've got one already, and she's almost a year old.
Almost a year. She's a handful, so I think 3 might be enough.
We have to get this right because the Price family is going to mushroom to
2 at least.
40.
20,
No,
30.
whatever. All right.
Here's my dad. Tim Price. T-I-M.
Really proud to be a member of this family, and I've been a member for like 31 years now. Hopefully I'll be a member another 31 or more years. I guess I'm proud to be a member of this family because everybody is really reaching goals and achieving things that nobody really even thought about a number of years ago, especially when I was younger. Growing up, it seemed like our family was just a super family, but didn't look like we were going too far. So Mom and Dad made the decision to move out to the nursery here and take a challenge and succeed at it. Although sometimes we don't think they're succeeding. Anybody that's in a business for as long as they have been and without the knowledge and schooling and money to invest in it and luck. Maybe that those qualities aren't going to be in business very long, and evidently they've succeeded. They're very good parents. I'm proud that they're my parents. I'm sure glad they're around to help us out, and I'm glad to help them out. I really, in difference than a lot of people, I don't have many hobbies. My hobbies are mostly the kids and raising them, doing odds and ends for people, helping them with their woodworking and construction type problems because I enjoy doing that, and it's made me a little money over the years. But it didn't make me enough money, so I did change jobs about a year ago, actually about 10 months ago, I guess. Still learning at my new job at Affiliated Foods. We're shipping out a lot of food, and I'm kind of proud to be a part of it, although it is hard work and the hours are terrible.
Growing up, let's hit sports first. You were a wrestler.
I was a wrestler. I wasn't a real good wrestler. I tried. I thought at the time. Now looking back, I wish I'd have maybe tried a little harder and worked out during the summer and that. Things have changed a lot. I don't enjoy the sport as not a sport that it's an old man sport like a basketball or baseball or softball, something like that would be. But I mean, that's the basic reason I chose wrestling was because I was too fat to slow to play basketball. So instead of being around the house in the dishes all the time, we got involved in that. Met a lot of nice people and had fun. Wrestled at the tech school up here for a year, and that was fun too. But part of the childhood came to an end, and so I got a job and got married, and pretty much I'm satisfied with the way everything's going.
You mentioned something about Price family not being... Matt! Be quiet! The Price family growing up, a lot of people made, I don't know, you might even say made fun of us. I don't know.
Well,
We weren't the best dressed or whatever, but
I think a lot of the teachers that had us and a lot of the neighborhood people were awful proud of us, and could see through the material things and see that Mom and Dad were doing a good job. Of course, we never had a lot of money. We always had plenty of food on the table, and what wasn't maybe the food we liked the best, but you got to learn to like pork and beans. All the girls did anyway. But it was by far the best way to raise kids. Mom and Dad had a lot of things going for them. They made them what they lacked in money and material things. They made up for with their ability to raise children. I'm sure glad they did.
one of the things that I know the younger kids won't remember is going up to the Sheetses. Since Donnie died, Mom talked about Donnie dying. Since that time, we haven't been up to the Clearwater Ewing Ranch. What are some of your memories about the Sheetses?
Well, we always had a real good time. Of course, their boys were the same age as, I think, about Terry and I, and it was a lot of fun for city kids, town kids to go out to the country and see all the animals, of course, and goof around, go down the creek and go skinny dipping, and go get the cows in and mess around with the dog. We played a lot of croquet and a lot of baseball out in the hayfield, and it was a lot of fun. Of course, the Sheetses are real close to the Knockmans, and we probably had more fun, more time spent at the Knockmans, putting up hay and playing soccer, and going in town on, I think it was Saturday nights, and watching the movies at the old dilapidated buildings they called the community center or whatever. It's a lot different life up there, but I think we all learned from it and benefited from it. It is a part of our lives. I think we can look back on that, and part of our success has come from being able to help them out and work with them and seeing a little different culture.
One last question. Describe Dad, 25 words less. Stanislaus.
Stanislaus is an awful good person. Not the brightest guy in the world, probably, but makes up for it in effort and probably has a lot of common sense.
Corey Price, and I'm Tim's wife. We've been married almost 9 years. Have 3 kids. I met Tim at a dance with a bunch of our friends, and we got to know each other that night, and then I dated one of his friends for a while, and then
Yeah, who was that?
Chris Otto.
Tim says, Chris says that he dumped you.
He's wrong, I dumped him. And then we went out for 4 years before we got married. And the first thing I remember is all these little tiny Price kids staring me in the face.
I believe, if I'm right, you were over at Wayne going to college.
Not when I first met Tim.
But you didn't quite make it all the way through.
No, not quite.
Why?
Because I didn't know what I wanted to do.
Stanley Price. What things come to your mind when you think of Stanley?
Well, the first memory I have of him is I think when we went to Dome to visit you, and there was this muddy, muddy road, and he decided that if you can't go forward, you can always go backward. The boys had to get out and push, but we went backwards.
And Alberta? Impressions?
I really don't remember much about her.
How she put up with 7 kids?
Well, I admire her for that.
Okay. Tom, and third in the list of the kids. I currently teach down at Norris. I've been a teacher for 8 years. And I'm the whole instigator of this whole program. I wanted to get some of this stuff on film. So I decided to try to get the family to talk about themselves. What I'd like to cover is some of the things that probably wouldn't come up otherwise. For instance, the Knockmans. We used to go up to, Terry, Tim, and I used to go up to Edwin and Donna's quite a bit. We used to hay in the hay fields, and with doing that with Dave was quite the experience. We had many memorable moments in the hay fields or at home doing the jobs around their ranch or playing soccer or trying to ride horses or whatever. I remember one time Dave put the saddle on backwards on Twinkles and bucked me off instantly. That was quite fun. Terry and I rode our bikes from Norfolk to Chambers one summer. And then the next year, I believe, I rode from our doorstep to their doorstep by myself. That was one of the things that we did. Among the other things, I have to tell you about the time that it's probably back at 208 when it must have been February or March when the spring was coming around and the snow was melting. Us 3 boys loved to play together, of course, and we did a lot of things together. It was thawing and a lot of water in the streets, and one of the problems with that in the city was that the sewers would get backed up, the drainers would get clogged, and we were playing outside, we decided to clean out one of the drains so that the water in the street would drain away. Mom had told us specifically not to get wet. Specifically. But we, of course, didn't listen, and we went out and we took sticks and whatever, and we cleaned out the ice, and the jam was broken, and the water was draining, and it looked like we had just done a good thing. We came back, and we were soaked. Mom gave us a spanking that I think she was pretty mad, but all 3 of us were in their bed, in their bedroom, which would have been the northwest corner of 208. And we all were crying. I'm pretty sure we all were crying. I know I was crying. And as soon as she left the room, we started laughing. I don't know why. I don't know if it was just the spanking wasn't hard enough or we got her so mad, but that was back in 208. Memories about Dad, Lori kind of hit one of them about going forward and you always go back. Stan used to always answer the phone as, "This is old Stan." As a kid growing up, every time he answered the phone or talked on the phone, he'd say, "This is old Stan." I asked him one time about that, and he says, "Well, people will remember it. Rather than just Stan, they'll remember old Stan, and they know who you're talking about." Alberta, we affectionately call her Bert, after her kind of a acquaintance with Delmer, or Del Hofer. We call her Bert. Among other things, she's been pretty crazy over the years. Another thing about Dad is that he always would ask, especially out at the nursery, "Is this a good thing?" We would ask him where this goes or where that goes. He'd say, "Well, I don't know. Is it a good thing?" And if it's a good thing, I guess you should know what to do with it. I don't know. Right now, as I said, I'm teaching at Norris. Had a pretty happy childhood, going to school and playing football, playing basketball, went to Doane College, taught at Philly for 3 years, now at Norris. Nancy and I have one son, Eric, who's almost 1.5 years, doesn't seem possible. But the Price family overall is pretty fun. The nursery's been good to us. The nursery helped me learn how to work. Besides the memories, it instilled the Stanley Price idea of working, getting the job done, keeping you at it, sweating a little bit maybe, plus learning a little bit about business and other things. But the Price family is, even though there's 7 of us, we hung together, had good times, didn't have much in material things, but it's been fun. It looks even more fun. We've got new...
Nancy, and my husband is Tom, and I met Tom at Joan College in Creech, Nebraska. We started dating my sophomore year. I was a sophomore and Tom was a senior. And then in September of '84 we got married, and I joined the Price family. And I guess the thing that I noticed about Tom's family is they're a lot like my family, have the same values and really care about each other, and they're a very loving group. And his dad likes to tell jokes, kind of like my dad, only Stanley always has a joke for you. If he doesn't, you think he's sick. So I enjoy being part of this family, and that's all I have to tell you.
One thing that you're different at than other people in our family, you're musically inclined. None of the Prices. I take that back. Peggy has some, or Barb has some.
No. And Terry.
What kind of characteristics do you see in the Price family? Sports?
Well, yeah, there's Bob and Tom and, well, quite a few of them have sports ability, especially Bob. He's trying to teach Eric how to play basketball and golf and all sorts of things. And, oh, I guess I should mention the question that Stanley had for me when I first met the family. I think his question to me was how Table Rock got its name. Because I'm from Table Rock, and I did know the answer to that question. He asked me some others, but I didn't know. But I could answer one, and it's just a rock shaped like a table up on Goat Hill. So
You've worked at, you're from a farm, and how does the farm compare to the nursery? I know when I first dated you, Norfolk was a big town compared to Table Rock, but how's the nursery compared to the farm?
a lot of it's alike. I mean, they depend on the weather, and you have to weed, and you do planting, just like the farm, and you have more open space, and it's really nice to get out in the open instead of houses so close together in the cities. And so a lot of it's the same. I enjoy being outside, coming up here when it's nice out, and getting outdoors and helping out whenever possible.
And hopefully we can bring our family up.
I'm Connie. I'm married to Michael, have been for almost 5 years now. We have one daughter, Elizabeth, and who will be 2 in July, and we're expecting our second one in November. I have lots of fond memories of the nursery and the family, some not so fond, especially of pulling weeds in the hot summertime and standing out there sweating to death. But I think it was an excellent decision for Mom and Dad to buy the nursery. Certainly taught us kids a good work ethic, gave us something to do, and kept us out of trouble. I'm proud to be associated with this family. Got a lot of good people.
Let's go back, way back. We'll try to get them in order here. Poppy Seed Girl. You were the Poppy Seed Girl. Made the paper, I believe. That goes, I don't know, how old were you? What?
Well, I was in it twice. I think the first time I was like 10 or 11. And first time I did a poem. I recited a poem. I have no idea what it was now. Second time, I made it to state on that one, but I don't think I know I didn't win state or anything. But I got a $50 bond out of that, so that was kind of nice. And the second time I went, I sang and played my guitar, but I don't think I even made it to state. I still have the cape.
Oh.
Cape.
There was another group that simply amazed me, you and Peggy, or I'm not sure who. The group that met above the delay bank,
the little club, I don't know.
Theta Beta Rho.
Ah.
Yes. That was interesting. It was nice because it taught us some certain values, like getting dressed up wasn't all so bad. And it was more social than anything. But it was a pain too, especially when I can remember I was invited in or joined or whatever you call it, and about 2 weeks later went to the state convention, so I had long dresses. Mom about had a heart attack because I didn't have any long dresses at that time, and all of a sudden I had to come up with dresses to the floor, but borrowed some, and I made it.
At about age 17 or so, you took a UN trip. And it just so happened that Nancy was on the same trip. And you went away to New York.
Yep. I never wanted to go back to New York. I still don't have any desire to go back to New York, although Michael would like to see it. Because there were 2 people that were mugged in the elevators in our hotel, and there was bums. I can remember seeing a woman bum. I thought that was just disgusting. I could handle the men. It seemed like the older men, but this one looked like she was only about 30 years old. She was a bum. But it was nice. We got to see a Broadway play and everything. And I really enjoyed Washington, D.C. That's really pretty. And I met Bob Schuler, who, of course, I thought I was in love with. But, yeah, that was a nice trip. Very nice. That was kind of nice, too, that Peg and Bob also got to go.
From there, you went on to the university. Little Connie Sue.
Yeah. I wanted to get away from the small cliques. I did not enjoy being outside of cliques at Norfolk, and I thought if I went to the university, if I wasn't in a clique, there would be some other clique I could get into. So that was really good. University was really good for me, and of course, especially since I met Michael at the end of my freshman year. And it was good for me. It brought me out of my shell, taught me a lot about the outside world, met different people, got to know different people. My first roommate, Beth Moore, had a stepmother who was like the proverbial wicked stepmother. Her mother would not watch TV if Beth was in the same room. You know, I didn't think that would be that much heartache to have to watch TV, but I certainly learned a lot about different people and different lifestyles.
Did you ever think you'd end up in the insurance business in Kansas City?
No, I kind of went into insurance. I had to take an elective, and they had a class on insurance basics. And I thought, well, everybody needs insurance. So I just kind of took it for fun, and I liked the professor, and I liked the course. So I took 2 more classes, so I had a total of 9 hours. And I was talking with the professor, and he said, you know, Connie, I think you'd be a good insurance underwriter. They need women in that field, and I think you'd be good at it. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought, well, that might just be okay. And then when Michael got the job in Kansas City, I just started there because I really didn't know what else I wanted to do. So I started there, and it's worked out good.
Since this is a Price family, we'll leave you with one more question. Mom and Dad, describe them.
Describe Mom and Dad. Mom is what I would call your basic homebody. She likes to have all her children around, all her grandchildren. She doesn't care about the noise and the commotion. She just likes to have everybody around. And I think that's when she's the happiest. I think the nursery has been good for her because she was so shy and so introverted before. And the nursery has made her realize she has many hidden talents that she never knew she had, like selling skills, etc. Dad has a zest for life, and he has an insatiable curiosity about subjects that interest him. And that's why he's wonderful at Trivial Pursuit, because he can remember all sorts of little things that you would not expect him to know or care about. But I love my parents very much, and I am grateful for all the things that they've given us, given me in particular. But I think they should be commended for the job they've done raising the family.
I'm Mike Bart, and I'm married to Connie. I guess I'll start with how we met, or how I have gotten into this mess, family. We first met in 1981 at University of Nebraska-Lincoln at the campus Catholic Church Center. There was a annual Sunday brunch that they held in the March time frame, and my parents came down for it, and I went, and we were seated at a table kind of in the middle of a big room, and they had these individuals that they had selected to help people carry their trays of food. And Connie, unfortunately, didn't have anybody going with her because, as I later found out, her parents owned a nursery. I naturally thought they were big business people, and so they were too busy to come. And so apparently a guy said, well, we'll have to sit you down with some good-looking guy. Unfortunately, they couldn't find any, so they set him next to me. And Connie's impressions of, I guess, my family and me were that I was in the process of trying to finagle a car out of my parents to go on spring break up to Minnesota. And she thought anybody who first of all was going on a spring break, let alone trying to finagle a car out of their parents for free, must be rich, had to be rich. Unfortunately, the reason why I was trying to do that is because I didn't have any money. But eventually I did finagle a car out of my parents. In fact, they ended up coming along and they paid for the trip. But I totally forgot about this little red-haired girl. I thought she was cute. I knew she lived in Sandos, but I couldn't remember her name. My father didn't understand that. He says, he's in the building right next to you. I said, well, there's about 400 or 500 women in that building. He said something about, well, start from the ground floor and work up. But I guess an amusing point with her was that my roommate was a floor treasurer for our floor in Able 5. And occasionally he had to meet with the Able Sandos overall treasurer, and he was having some difficulties with the money on our floor. And he went over to this treasurer in Sandos, and he came back and said, yeah, there's this red-haired girl, and she was real pretty, and she was real nice. And I said, that's her! I knew she was a treasurer or something. And I could not remember her last name, and he could not remember the room number. But I totally forgot about her. The next time we met, kind of by accident, was in that summer school. I stayed down there to work on a research project with the professor, and I also was taking a class. And I guess she had decided to come back from North Fork to go to school. And we met again on the first morning of classes at about 6:45, in line waiting for breakfast, and she walked up behind me. I didn't remember her name, so I, being kind of smooth and sophisticated, said, well, why don't we sit down and eat breakfast together? And still trying to recall who this person was, and she had her class schedule with her that she was trying to figure out what classroom she was supposed to go to. And I said, well, can I see? Knowing that her full name was on the document, I thought this will get me out of this problem. Unfortunately, her name on there was Constance Susanna. You know, she didn't have her that name, Price, on there. I said, would you go by Constance? And she said, no, Connie. That got me off the hook. There's a little side story with that, is that she didn't have her middle name right on when she went to Lincoln. She thought her name was Susanna. It was just Constance Sue, but that's another story. We dated a little bit that summertime. She thought I was getting too serious, so she kind of cooled my heels, if you will. And I went on vacation with my parents and came back, and she said that we really should date other people. And I was depressed, very much so, and we just continued to date and on and off. She continued to think about becoming a nun on and off, and I got more depressed on and off. And eventually we decided to get married, and that's where we are today. I guess my impressions of the Price family were originally started that first summer. Connie had a car down there. I don't know if I would call it that, but I guess the Price family did. What is the name? Because the Falcon. Oh, the brown Falcon. And it wasn't working, which didn't quite surprise me. I thought cars that looked like that belonged in a museum. And after Barb stopped jiggling the camera, anyway, I thought cars that looked like that shouldn't be running, or shouldn't be licensed, or maybe should be in a museum somewhere. She informed me that They not only had one, but they used to have two of them. But the family was coming down because there was something wrong with the car, and she didn't inform me it was a rather large family. I don't think she ever told me the number though. But I remember Uncle Kenny came down, and Peg came down, and Terry, the mechanic, came down, and Stan, the man, came down, and a few other individuals. I think Barb did too, I recall. And they were hooking up a U-Haul tow bar, and Stan found out that I had worked for U-Haul before, so he naturally started asking me everything under the earth or everything under the sun about the tow bar and U-Haul and trucks, and I managed to bluff my way through most of it. And that was my first impression, and that and the fact that they could have the gall of doing a picnic in a dormitory lounge. I thought that was interesting. Let's just roll out the food here. I would have not known the difference if somebody had walked in and started eating anyway, because there were so many people. I didn't know if they were part of the family or not.
Speaking of Stan,
Yes?
he has been noted as asking questions to newcomers to the family.
Oh, yes. And I was fortunate to have one of those as well. But the first time I came to Norfolk, it was, I think, the Christmas Bay, 1981, maybe? Yeah, I think it was 81. And I was playing it kind of quiet, or as much as I could. And Stan came by, and I think it was either after church or before church. He says, no, it had to be after church, because there was something mentioning a camel in the reading, in the Three Wise Men. And Stan came up to me and says, do you know how far a camel can walk in a day? And I thought he was serious. Everybody else was kind of dismayed. Or, oh, Dad, cut that out, type of thing. And I thought he was serious. I thought, this is my test. It's got to be it right here. So I thought, well, I'll look that up for you, Stan. And I went home and I looked it up in the library for him. I got back to Lincoln. I don't remember what the answer was. 20 miles a day, depending on the food or the water. But Stan was very interesting. Stan, I guess I would describe Stan as a man with extreme curiosity and knowledge of many things, of which few are useful. But Alberta, bless her heart, is probably one of the most kindest people I've ever met. And the rest of the crew, man, I don't even know where to start on with them. I do want to deviate from one. I want to go back on one other incident with Stan. We were up here, Connie and I were up here coming back for a wedding in February of 82 or 83, I don't recall exactly. And we were going to go out to Knockman's for David and Donnie's wedding. I didn't know who these people were, but Connie had gone to a few things on my side, so I figured I should go to her side. And we were all, no, it had to be 83 because we came back for Father and Enob were giving us marriage classes. Anyhow, Peggy was supposed to come back from Wayne. She came back and it was kind of just gently snowing. She says, well, I'm going back, I'm not going to get stuck here. And she left. Well, that night it snowed about 16 inches. We didn't even pay any attention to the forecast. Needless to say, we weren't able to make it to the wedding that Saturday. They postponed it until Sunday. But my Omni, that I just purchased a car, was buried. Literally, I couldn't see it out there in the drifts. And eventually, about 11 o'clock, Stan and Connie and myself went out there and started digging in the car and tried to make a path to the street. Well, Stan said, well, we've got a tractor. We can do this. And I had never had much experience on tractors, but I dearly loved to play with machinery. And so I said, well, I'll let him do the first 5, and then maybe he'll let me do the rest. Well, Stan proceeded to push one little loop and then pushed it off the side where you park the pickup. And it was kind of, mushy and sloshy, and proceeded to get the tractor stuck the first time. It was just buried. Literally, the wheels were just sinking as we watched it. I was so ticked. That means we had to shovel the whole stinking driveway ourselves. But he had to show me how it was done, and I was impressed. He could get it stuck on the first time.
The future.
Oh, future.
What lies ahead for the Price family?
Grandchildren. Lots of them. Oh, I would say that, I guess my prediction is eventually 1 or 2 of the boys will buy into the nursery and eventually take it over, Stan will be kept on retainer as a part-time salesperson, part-time jokester, part-time director. Alberta will help with the grandchildren and with potty plans. If I was to go down the list of various people and what I think will happen to them, kids-wise, Terry, I think they'll probably have 3 or 4. Tim, I think they're done. At least Lori said they are. Tom, Nancy, I'd say 3. Connie, myself. Connie originally started out with 6, and as each time she's gotten pregnant here, the number has decreased. But we'll probably have 3 or 4. Peggy, 2, 3. Bob, 8. I just think Bob's going to have lots of kids. I hope he makes lots of money, too, because he's going to need it. Barb, she'll have 8 ponies. I'm not sure if she'll have kids, but she'll have animals, lots of animals. Did I hit all?
Went to Wayne State. I'm a teacher, home economics. You all know that. Some of my early memories, I remember as a little girl standing in the bathroom at 208 watching Mom take the pipes apart to find the diamond in the bottom of the sink, or the drain. I remember birthday parties having Jill Timmer over, and I remember going up to Grandma Sheets and asking for gum, and Mom would always get mad. Don't remember too much before the nursery, although a few things I do. After the nursery, a very vivid imagination. I remember a lot of things. Connie and I getting in fights, and the boys and I getting in fights, and everybody getting in fights, and Mom getting mad and taking off in the car. I don't know.
No one's brought up yet about Ginger. Tell people about Ginger.
I remember it was right before Christmas when we got her, right after we moved out to the nursery. And we got her from Timmer's, and we weren't sure what to call her, and one of the boys came up with the name Ginger. And I remember the 4th of July when she got scared and stayed, I think it was the 4th of July, yeah, it must have been 3 or 4 days in Gibbs and Clarence's garage. Everybody was worried, and I remember her getting hit by a car. And she was scared to death, and everybody would go to the veterinarian. That little thing, great uneaten table scraps.
And whenever you came home from college, or...
She was the first one you had to see. Take her out for a walk out in the field so that she could smell rabbits.
The family's got 3 boys first. So you had older brothers. What do you think about that? Did you like that?
Yep. They were old enough for me where it never really caused me much problems other than we had to stay with them when Mom and Dad were gone. But that was not as torturous as it probably could have been. I thought it was nice having older brothers, not that they ever really protected me or anything, but they could have.
We trying to hit all the memories, and someone, I don't know who, where, brought up the fact that you guys used to go out into the field and supposed to pull weeds. And never, I don't know, I guess we just took it for granted that you were pulling weeds.
Well, we were. We'd read a page in our book, and then we'd pull a weed, and then we'd read a page in our book, and then we'd pull another weed. There was a lot of times when we did pull weeds, but there was probably 2 summers where we goofed off a little bit more until Mom and Dad wised up on us and came out with us and actually made us work. I remember using the rototiller. I pushed that many a time. And the mower. And I remember Gibbs and Clarence coming over and yelling at me because girls shouldn't be rototilling. But
among the various places you worked, I know the name Goodrich pops up. 3, 4 summers?
Worked at Goodrich 5 summers. Never, well, yeah, my junior and senior year were full years, and then after that it was just summers. Had a lot of good ice cream there, a lot of good times. That reminds me of eating. That's what I was going to talk about. We've had many thoughts come to mind when it comes to eating. Going out to eat with Gibbs and Clarence at Sirloin Stockade, and Gibbs bringing along our little nickel bags so that we could all get ice cream cones. And of course, eating at Gibbs and Clarence's. And of course, pork and beans comes to mind too. And speaking of older brothers, they like the pork and beans, and us younger kids didn't appreciate it. And baking cookies with Bob. We had lots of flops, and Mom knew about it. Somehow she'd go shopping or whatever, and she'd come home and they'd disappear because Bob and I had thrown them about as far out in the field as we could get. And then, I don't know, the dishes comes to mind too. Whenever we had the meals, and there was always dishes and fights over that. But now it's not so bad. Dishes get done in a real snap.
One of the things is relatives, and us older boys, it's easy to talk about the Sheetses and the Nachmans, but let's see, was there somebody that you were close to?
Sheets. I was probably about the only one who spent summers up at Sheets, of the girls at least. The younger kids went and stayed with them. I remember going to a drive-in movie with them, and with Spunks up to the lake to go skiing, and drinking half the lake the one and only time I tried to ski. I was pretty close to them in 1 or 2 summers before Donnie died. And that was it. We're not as close as we used to be.
The things that Mom and Dad have done with us. You're about ready to have your first kid. What do you think? What are some of the things that you're going to do the same, going to do different?
Oh, probably a lot of things the same as far as discipline goes. A lot of lecturing. And smoking. One memory that comes to mind is when I tried to smoke out underneath a tree, and I was caught, and Dad made me light farmer's matches till they about burned my fingers. And sitting on chairs when we were naughty, and having group discussions until somebody admitted they did wrong. I'll probably do a lot of that, I would imagine.
What's going to be different, though?
Oh, probably more hugging. More verbalizing that they love me, even though I know Mom and Dad do, but that would probably be different.
Yes, first of all, I met Peggy at Wayne. Let's see, it would have been my senior year. She was the RA in our dorm. And I don't remember the first time I actually knew who she was. I didn't notice her whenever it was we had our dorm meeting. It was in a class. And I didn't know her, so I didn't know she was in it. But I think they were taking roll or something, and a teacher called out Price twice. You know, on the other one I already knew Bob. We'd lived in the same dorm for a while. And when he said Peggy Price, that was easy enough to figure out, so I just kind of turned around to look and see who it was. But we were just good friends for about a year and a half. And finally, didn't really call it a date. We just kind of got her off alone, and we winged it from there. And after she figured out it was a date, the rest has just kind of been easy. And let's see, we started dating after I got out of Wayne, and Peggy's last year there. And at that time I was in Lincoln. I met Tom, so I already knew Tom and Bob. And then at Peggy's graduation was everyone else, almost. And it has been a very unique, isn't quite the word, but it's been quite an experience. And one of the things that's, to me, is interesting is I've got a wide variety of interests, which fortunately stands a little bit the same way. His mind can go off in any direction at any different time. And so, I mean, everybody else can identify one bizarre question or one out of one thing that they think, a question that no one else would think of, but I guess my mind is kind of odd enough that I've either had an answer for him or could figure it out or come up with something.
You try to compare families. I mean, when Peggy, you've got your family with
One sister.
one sister, and Peggy comes and you're dating her, and she says, "I've got 3 brothers and 3 sisters, and my mom's name is Alberta, and my dad's name is Stan."
And my dad's name is Stan too. You know, there's 6 inches in difference in height. The weight's about the same probably. It's the same, but it isn't. I've got the one sister who doesn't live near, but I've always been close to my cousins on both sides, and most of them are pretty close, and I guess it's hard to compare cousins to brothers or sisters, because you know I'm closer to most of my cousins than a lot of people are to their brothers and sisters. But
we'll guide you in a different direction here. The nursery. Surely you've got a nursery story. You've come up and you've worked and you've seen the place and actually got your fingers dirty. Anything, you know, digging, tractor, stand, anything kind of come to mind about what you did at the nursery?
Nothing really specifically. Just try to do whatever I can to, you know, I figure if I can get in a few good hours, I know Stan or Alberta, they're not going to take off, you know, an hour or a day off for every little bit I'm here, but maybe it won't be as hard.
We gotta get Bob in here. You know Bob probably the best. He was at Wayne. You got any stories that we can kind of you can tell about Bob?
What Bob is?
Because he's up next. He's gonna be right on the videotape after you.
And Bob and I lived in the same dorm for almost a year before I moved out, and I didn't really know him other than who he was. But the last year, our intramural basketball team happened to be in the same league as Bob's, and ours wasn't any good. And we had one player that could touch the rim, and one player that was over 6 foot. And Bob's team plays at a very fast pace, and our team didn't put any gym time in. We were all out of shape. We didn't play enough that we could, they could expand it to hoop an extra foot, and we still couldn't have done anything with it. But unfortunately, our first game of the year, we played an even worse team and actually beat them, or they beat themselves. And I'd gotten lucky in the first game and shot like 6 out of 8 or something, and scored a dozen of our team's 30 points or whatever it was. So it was the point total wasn't very good. And I think Peggy talked to Bob sometime during the week, so we had Bob's team the next week. And Bob is guarding me at 3 or 4 inches taller. He's bigger, taller, faster, quicker. He actually has a vertical leap, and I didn't do anything the whole game. Nobody on our team did. They beat us by about 30 or 40 points. And that was typical for the most part. But Bob's competitive nature is pretty funny, because halfway through the year, another kid moved into our dorm and asked to play on our team. And we knew this kid shoots a lot. You know, a couple of us had seen him play, and he was good. He wasn't tall, but he was a defensive back, and had played with Hoppen and Stivrins, and that class out of Lincoln. And Mark Will, you know, not only was he an athlete, he was also black, and wasn't any taller than I was, but he fit in with our team. But to make a long story short, Mark had a range on his jumper of about 35 feet, and you know, we just turned him loose. You know, he played defense and the rest of it, but by having somebody that could handle the ball and score, the rest of the guys on our team could do a lot of the other things. And he got hot a couple times. In the second game, they beat us probably 8-10 points, but they had to work the whole game. And whereas the first game, you know, Bob and the guys on their team were laughing and joking around, you know, it was real easy. And this game, from our perspective, they had it pretty much all the way. They were never behind. But having this other kid out there, it was, you know, they had to work for it, and it didn't seem to be quite as much fun. And Bob's carrying the load for their team, and they're not cruising. And that was a side of him that I hadn't seen, because every time I'd seen him, his team wins by 30 points.
I'm Bob Price, the almost the youngest. I have a little baby sister named Barb. I have an interesting beginning. I was born in Chicago, and Dad used to work at a place called Felco and unload rail cars. And I was in a bundle of flour, and Dad found me and brought me home, and that's kind of my beginning. Born in '65.
When'd you get the brain damage?
Brain damage. What? Okay. This is kind of a fashion faux pas I learned from my Uncle Dell. I think it's kind of nifty if you can get a shot of that. Okay. I got some memories of the family. We'll start off with when we lived at 208 Cottonwood, when the two of you, well, it was Tom's idea, wanted to go collect beer cans, aluminum and beer cans and pop cans. And Peggy went with us, I guess not Barb. We went to Johnson's Park, and we were hunting for beer cans and just aluminum cans at all. And we were doing rather well, and all of a sudden we stumbled across what seemed to be some rather, you know, nice-looking cans, and they happened to be filled with bees. So the bees chased, I think, Peggy and Tom and I, down through Johnson Park, back to 208. They were killing bees, and we were crying and running crazily. And when we got home, we took our shirts off, and we still had bees on us, and we got really stung. The second one is, we'll bring Stan into this. I had a nice orange hat, and it was a seed company, Golden Seed Company, and that was my most favorite hat, and Dad gave it away to a customer. Probably the customer made a remark that he liked the hat, and so Dad gave it to him. So, the last one is, this involves Barb. We were young and we were at the nursery, and I was eating grape nuts with milk, and Barb was making pancakes. And Dad came in, well, the phone rang, and so I didn't want to get it because my grape nuts were going to get soggy. So I told Barb to, and she didn't want to because her pancakes were going to burn. Well, apparently Barb bribed Dad, and so Dad took favor with her, and Dad made me eat the soggy grape nuts and spanked me. So,
What do you remember about 208 Cottonwood? You were just a little one by then. Remember anything?
oh, one thing I can remember is Saturday mornings watching cartoons and having the milkman come in and deliver milk. And what else? Just the backyard, a big tree with a big branch.
Ziggenbines and Johnson Park.
Johnson Park. I didn't know any of the. I didn't really play with the Ziggenbines. There was, well, the Ziggenbines and Stangies. I played with. Who did I play with? Oh, so who was that one? I can't remember. But
you and Barb were always pretty much referred to as the little kids, the younger ones. Us older boys had to take care of you. Did you like being the younger one? You want to show us all up?
oh no, we just we learned the tricks of the trade, and we did become quite a sales team. Barb and I at the nursery, we'd double up on them and get the job done. Of course, Barb was a bulk. I pretty much sold, and Barb kind of carried the pots and helped the customer, with the bulky stuff, and I kind of the brains of the two. But I don't know. It was better being the youngest one, but now you learn a lot from everybody.
I know you've been pretty famous and just pretty outright about being the best rototiller, best digger, sales force. You really have just improved and blossomed at the nursery.
Really, what can we say more than that? No, I think Tim taught me how to dig. Clarence taught you and Tim how to dig. He never taught me, because I was too young. I was tilling. Then Tim taught me how to dig. And, really, I didn't, other than that, no one really, I guess Clarence kind of showed me a little bit how to rototill, but that kind of picked up on my own.
You made a comment about Barb. I remembered you picking on her. She was your little, wrestle mate and basketball and whatever else.
Well, the three boys were all together. Connie and Peggy were all together because of the age, and their friends. So it was natural that me and Barb got together and became good friends and pals, buddies for life, I like to think.
Do you remember, since I'm down here and you're speaking and Barb's doing the camera work, a certain trip we took to Sioux City?
Oh, we went to see wrestling, World Wrestling. We took the Falcon.
Say that again, because Mike was down here talking about that car. What?
That was the 64 Falcon we took.
Brown Station Wagon.
Brown Station Wagon.
To Sioux City.
Sioux City, Iowa. We laid the mattress, a foam mattress or something, in blankets down in the back when we slept. On the way, probably back from it. We went and saw a wrestling match. And,
I believe Jesse the Body Ventura was there.
Was he?
And Vern, not Vern Gagne, but
who was the hairy guy? The guy who got killed. Mad Dog Vachon.
Yeah.
That brings up the memory, and this will be kind of a teaser for the older boys. When we had the yellow station wagon, and we decided to go to the drive-in movie one night. And of course, we stopped at Mel's. They bought some candy. I picked up a Six, and I don't know how old. 7 years old or so, I don't know. And we decided that to save some money, they would put me in the back place where they had the spare tire. And of course, when we got there, I was smushed in this thing with the tire. And we got there, and of course, anybody who was under like 10 years old got in free. So I snuck in free. That was kind of a fun thing. Oh, yeah.
You went to Wayne?
Went to Wayne, 1983 through 87. Started out as a math major. Ended up as a business marketing major. After that, I worked for 4 months telemarketing. And then I found a job with the IRS. I started in October of 87 and currently still working there. Currently have a girlfriend. Her name is Tanya. Lori. Lori. And I don't know. So far I'm enjoying where I'm at. I'm picking up on golf, playing golf and volleyball and basketball and
Someday come back and run a nursery.
no, probably not, but I enjoy coming back.
I'm Barb, and I'm the youngest of this crew. And everybody says that the youngest get spoiled, and they're, you know, the baby of the family. And while that's true in my case, I'm not, you know, like a spoiled brat or anything, but I have to tell y'all something. It's been pretty hard following all you. I've been trying real hard, and I'm doing a pretty good job. But I just want you to know it's pretty darn hard following 6 other people. Anyway, I have a few memories. My memories don't include 208. I have no idea what that place was like. I know what it looks like from the outside, but I can't remember the inside at all. My memories start pretty much at the nursery, and I remember being very lonely because when we moved out there, well, before we moved out there, Mom had been babysitting for a lot of people. And we moved out there, and the rest of you guys were all in school, and I was the only one at home. So I remember bugging Mom a lot because I wanted to play, and I didn't have anybody to play with. But Ginger and I became pretty good pals, and I think it was me who named her. I think I named her after Ginger on Gilligan's Island, but I could be wrong. Anyway, one of the memories that I have is, I don't remember if it was with Peggy or with Connie. I think it was with Peggy, and the haymow up in the dirt shed. Well, it was one April Fool's Day, or close around that time of the year, and there was a big pile of gunny sacks down on the ground. And us kids had made a game out of jumping out of the haymow onto these gunny sacks, this gunny sack pile. Well, I believe it was Peggy, like I said, that thought, well, Barb, pretend like you were going to hit the pile and you fell out and you landed on the ground and you're really, really hurt. Just lay here real still. And I'll go get Connie and we'll, you know, make her think that you really hurt yourself, and then we'll say April Fool's Day. Well, before we could get it done, we kind of thought, well, that was kind of mean, so we didn't end up doing it. But that was a lot of fun. I remember jumping out of the haymow a lot. The second memory that I have also deals with Connie and Peggy. And I don't remember witnessing this, but everybody else seems to talk about it. It's when Connie and Peggy were down in the pit, and they were on some board singing The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and they thought that they were probably Vegas showgirls or something, but I remember everybody talking about that. Just thought I'd want to bring that up. Of course, I think singing pretty much runs in the family. Mom and Dad all made us all sing in church. I think that's where we picked it up at. Any questions, Tom?
You betcha. Horses.
Horses. Horses, my main love. I've always liked animals. I remember all the dogs. I remember we had, you know, a Siberian Husky and a Golden Lab or a Golden Retriever, one of the two. Very pretty dogs.
Irish Setter.
And Samber, and yeah, there was an Irish Setter. There's all sorts of dogs and animals always getting tossed out around our place. And I affectionately became known as the lion tamer because I always went out and no matter what they looked like, I could always, I don't know, I always petted them or whatever. But I've always wanted a horse. I begged and begged Mom and Dad to buy me a horse when I was little. But they never let me have one. But now I found myself a boyfriend, and he's thinking about buying a horse this summer, so maybe there's hope for me yet.
One of the other memories, you're about the only Price girl who was out for athletics, volleyball and basketball, I believe. But I remember a little incident with basketball. You hurt your knee in a game. I think Matt and Tim were there.
Matt was. I don't remember who was all there. I know Mom was there and Dad. What happened was it was my senior year, 1986, playing Humphrey. I think it was Humphrey Public, but it might have been St. Francis. In Burns Gym. And the girl was dribbling the ball, and I was going to come up behind her and steal the ball away and get the ball for our side, of course. Well, she was running ahead of me, and she cut right. And so I tried to follow, and my knee gave out, and I was in the worst pain I've ever been in my life. And what had happened was I tore ligaments in my right knee. But that was the only real accident that I had in sports. I mean, jammed fingers, no big deal. Of course, my back, that was really no big deal either. And I split my lip. That was always fun.
You have to tell us about the time that you took this young lady. I have no idea which team or what happened, but you kind of threw her around a little bit.
You would have to bring this up. Everybody knows this story. I'm very aggressive on defense. Defense is my main area. Never was worth a crap in offense, but defense I could pretty much hold my own. And we were playing a team, and the girl, both of us went up for a rebound. We both grabbed it at the same time. And she was a little behind me, to my right. And she wouldn't let go of the ball, and neither would I. And I took it, and I pivoted. And she came with me and flipped over my shoulder, and I ended up, I don't know exactly what I did. I think I broke her ankle or strained her knee or something, did something to her knee, but it was her knee or her ankle. And she was out, I don't know how long. I didn't really pay attention to that anymore, but yes, I did injure a girl.
I don't think anyone's brought this up before, but we've talked a little bit about the relatives of the Price family, and we mainly hit on the Sheetses and the Knockmans and stuff, but any memories of Dad's brothers? Dad talked a little bit about his family, but like Father Francis.
Well, FF's been around the most, as far as Dad's side, that is. Gosh, there's lots of memories about FF, but...
Did you meet any of the other ones? I don't...
Yeah.
Blaine.
I met Blaine, Joe. I don't know if I met Delmer. I think, yeah, he was back that one time. I don't know what to say about FF.
Do you remember taking a trip out to Lake McConaughey? And
well, barely. I barely remember Lake McConaughey. I was little. You guys remember all this stuff. I don't. So, I don't know about Lake McConaughey.
Now you're at the university.
I'll be a senior this fall. And I have at least 2 years left.
This is Matthew. This is my room. I like to play soccer. I like to take swimming lessons. And next week I'm going to play t-ball. And this year I'm going to be in first grade. And I like to kick the ball around. I like to play catch. I like to roller skate, skateboard, ride my bike, and build things, make things, do things. We'll go for walks, to parties, and that's all I'd like to say.
What about the nursery?
I like to dig trees, Help water.
Throw rocks.
Throw rocks.
Drive the tractor.
Drive the tractor. Play in the holes. Go hiking in the fields.
Set rabbit traps.
Set rabbit traps. And, that's all.
He just
Make a good impression. Bow or something.
What do you think, Eric? What do you think, huh?
Say hi.
This is Elizabeth. Elizabeth Bart. Can you look right in here?
Go kiss Eric.
Give Kayla a kiss. Eric, give Kayla a kiss. Elizabeth, can you give Kayla a kiss? Right over there? Right here. Right over here. Give Kayla a kiss. Can you give Kayla a kiss? Aww. Give her a kiss. Come here, honey.
Ready? Can you ride
Will
it?
you give Kayla another kissy?
That magazine.
You're a Bronco.
A new one? I'm a Bronco.
Okay, too.
Sit back more.
I'm a Bronco rider. I'm a Bronco rider. I'm a Bronco rider.
He's pretty off.
Is she on?
Yeah.
This is Amy. Whoops. She's almost one. She's kind of sleepy tonight.
Pretty laid back.
What's your hobbies?
Whoops. Very sleepy. I'm gonna doze off right on the camera, kiddo. Kind of like Grandpa. Some people think she looks just like Grandpa.
I've got you.
Don't they? Some people think you look just like Grandma or Daddy.
Amy, what do you think about this Price family?
Wow. I'll say wow. The youngest number. Say wow.
Number one.
Okay. Yeah, Barb's waving at you. Can you wave?
Hey, what do you have to say?
Okay, Elizabeth.
Kelly, come and tell Tom about Tiffany and Christine and everybody, okay? So then we can watch it on TV.
I can't see your face. Where's your dimple? Stand up and show me your braid. You want to show Daddy your braid.
Let's see.
Oh, that's cute. And I'm the coyote. Puppy dog. No, that's the coyote. And on the horsey.
Show him Isabella. Okay, show him Isabella.
Maybe you should have by herself. Upstairs with Tom. I'll come up too. Can you rock? Get her, Robbie. Okay, rock. Rock.
Tom and I. You wave to Tom.
4 or 5 months more than that.
Show him what you're eating. Show him what you're eating, Cakes. Show Tom what you're eating.
Hi.
Elizabeth.
Can you talk? Let's show you.
Oh.
Who's this?
Who's this?
Eric. Eric, come here.
Grandma has to sit there. Kelly, tell Barb. Grandma and Grandpa need to sit there. Can you move? Thank you.
Hey, you want to sit back and take your racket? Sit back.
Oh, we're on candid camera, huh?
Sit back. Come here. Don't try to sit back here. This is my better side. So, Grandma, how many...
That's a good shot.
Hold it, Bert.
Matt, you have to move out of the way. Sit down.
Read it out loud.
Mom and Dad, this present is a special gift for Mom. We put a lot of thought and time into it. Hope you like it. For Father's Day, we tried to come up with an equally special gift. The one we decided on was one that Dad even recommended. We've agreed to all come home a weekend.
And give you a break from the nursery. Enjoy your food.
Thank you.
That is nice.
Do you recognize that diamond? Have you been to the diamond, Mom?
Just told her to give it back.
You know how close I was to getting caught?
Real close.
You were 2 feet outside your bedroom door.
When did you get it?
Oh, you know Peggy and her way. 2 or 3 visits ago.
A couple months ago.
Is that when you were in there looking for it?
You can't all come home for a weekend.
No. We're thinking about June 10th.
Question
Aren't you the lucky one?
Tom and Nancy are going to have 4, they said. Tim and Lori are at 3, I think. Oh, Carrie and Pat, I think, said 3. Mike and Connie, I think, made a statement of 4.
That was before we had any kids, so.
Now that you're smart.
I don't know, Bob.
You have to get
Bart. I think I had
Good to predict.
3 for Bob and 4 for Bart. 5 for Peggy and Paul.
That's in the first 5 years.
Well, here we are again, Norfolk Nursery, Norfolk, Nebraska. 5 years since we've done the previous tape. Let's see what's happened. What's changed? Anything? Oh, just take a look. Let's go check this out over here. Interesting things happening on that pickup truck. Hey, Leah and Angela, what are you doing here? What kind of things are you playing?
We're cooking.
You're cooking?
Yeah.
Cooking what? Christopher, what is this?
Food.
Food? What kind of food? Oh, what kind of food is that?
Seafood.
Seafood. Sounds good to me.
No.
Craig, is that a monster? Craig, what do you have?
We have a casserole. Christopher, you're next.
like they're really hurt, huh? Hi, who are you?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth.
Elizabeth who?
A Bart.
Where do you live?
Nowhere.
Nowhere?
I'm an orphan.
How can you live nowhere?
I'm an orphan.
You're an orphan?
Yeah.
Oh, my. Kayla, what's going on here?
Nothing. Good night, you
Now we mean business. Look at him come now. Reinforcement. Well, you know, this place is noted for quite a few things, and plants, of course, the trees. Been here 100 years or whatever, but it's probably most noted for its owner, and I think he's around somewhere. Let's check out this place and see what we can come up with here. I've heard a lot about this man. Yeah, let's see. Greenhouse. Yeah, here he is. Say, sir, are you open today?
You betcha.
Well,
You betcha.
I heard a lot about you. I heard you even told a few good stories every now and then. Have you got time for that?
Oh, maybe we can figure out something. Did you hear about the two mathematicians looking at a flagpole to see how high it was?
No? No?
Well, while they were pondering the situation, along came an English professor, lifted the pole out of the ground and laid it down, got out his tape measure, measured it, 27.5 feet, just like he figured. So, he puts the tape measure away, stands the pole back in the ground, and walks on, goes away. One mathematician turns to the other and he says, "Isn't that just like an English professor? We ask him for the height, and all he can give us is the length." Yeah. Well, if you had 5 flies in your kitchen, which one's the cowboy?
5 flies in the kitchen. Which one? I have no idea.
The one that's at home on the range.
Oh.
Yeah, this is old Stan again. Since we made the video in '89, why, it's been 5 years. Thought we'd make another one. Everybody's growing, everybody's changing, everybody's got things they've done. I myself had a heart attack, and I'm over that. It was just a little plug on a artery on the face of the heart itself. It was taken care of with angioplasty operation. They fixed me up, and I feel fine. Had a hernia last January and the operation was the 5th of January of '94, and I'm over that real well. Did what they told me, and that worked out quite well. So I'm making it pretty good. I guess my parents put me together reasonably well. A little bit about my parents. My dad came from Indiana about the turn of the century. He was hoping to get a homestead up in South Dakota, but he missed that. Now, he came out here as a single man, and as a widower, actually. His young wife had died. And he would walk a ways and then do work for a farmer and get a few meals and get all fixed up and have a few good night's sleep. Then he'd walk on. Or sometimes he'd be a hobo and come on the railroad. He got as far as Sioux City that way, and then he pretty well walked and worked his way from there in the fall of the year, doing a little corn picking or whatever work was to be done. He walked from Page to O'Neill in one day, was his last measured walk. He was a fast walking man. He was a small, wiry man, probably 140 pounds and about 5'6", 7", and fine boned. So that's, just a minute. Ernest Price was a small man, maybe 5'6" or 7", about 140 pounds, small boned, had educated himself through correspondence courses quite a lot. He liked to eat. He had a favor for cigars. But he probably came to this country when he was in his late 20s, about the turn of the century. He missed his homestead up in South Dakota, but he got to know the Jacob Hunts out north of O'Neill. They had a homestead along the Niobrara. And Mrs. Hunt, Esther, was legally blind. And they were running a lot of sheep, and they could use his help that winter. Then they suggested that with his education, he could teach school. Now this is back in year 4, 7, or whatever in there, right after the turn of the century. And their school term, rural schools only went 5 months. That was their term. So Ernest started teaching school, and he found a really rotten piece of ground that came down 2 sides to a creek. It was just nothing but sandy, washed out ground, but nobody wanted it, so it had never been homesteaded. So he took it and was really making his living teaching school, and at the same time proving up on that homestead on Brush Creek. Mary Nachman was the Hunt's granddaughter. Mary was the daughter of Joe and Olive Nachman, and Olive was a Hunt girl, you see. So he got to know Mary and the whole Nachman family, and they also had, the Joe Nachmans had gotten a Kincaid homestead down by Amelia. And so they had a homestead too. In 19... the Grandpa Nachman was going to build a barn. So they took that lumber and just made a floor out in the yard, leveled it up on blocks or stumps or something, and made a big floor and had a dance 3 nights running. Everybody could come. In the neighborhood, people would do work with each other, and they would do, one neighbor would do the other one's chores, and that one could come, and the next night they'd reverse it, and the other one could come. So over a period of 3 nights, there was dances at the Nachman place south of Amelia. They moved back to Brush Creek and had 7 boys, and then they had me down. They lost Brush Creek due to poor management, and then we rented that Nachman when the Joe and Olive Nachman died and left that in the estate. My mom used up her part of the inheritance for renting that Nachman place in the early 30s, and that's where I was born. We rented down there for 10 more years, and then nearly 10, and then we went to O'Neill, got a little 40 acres, and by this time Ernest was 65, and so he was getting quite old, but he was always a wiry man that could walk. He could really step it off. When I was in the 8th grade, probably the 14th, go walk with him somewhere, and every few steps you'd have to run a couple. Walk a bit and run a little, because he stepped it off. He had a march to him that got over the ground. He had a successful life because he married a woman that was just opposite of him, where he was timid and Afraid to be decisive in life, she was impulsive and could go right ahead. She was a strong woman, and I would say that you would say that he had a successful life. Having raised 8 of us boys, we all amounted to pretty good, and 3 of them, of course, became the priests. He died in 59, just about 82 years old. Good.
Okay, from there we're going to back up a little bit. We're going to take another look at the nursery, but through the eyes of another one of the owners, co-owner. Here she is. Where is she? Here she is. Ta-da! Hey, what you got there?
Good afternoon. Here's one of my favorite plants of all, the fountain grass. This plant was planted in early June of this year, and it was in a 4-inch pot and only about 8 inches tall, and it has grown this much. However, they say it isn't winter hardy grass yet, but we're going to find out. I want to try and save part of it and then really mulch in the rest and see if it will live. Of course, below here are the asters that were planted like 3 years ago, and they really spread and they really look pretty at this time of the year. Of course, these are annual flowers that we plant each year. They're doing pretty good. The color is almost interesting, I think. We like a lot of color. Then we'll go on over a little further. Of course, there's lots of shrubs and bushes here that are neat plants, but I won't go into all the names because most of you know the names anyway.
Most of us, but not me.
Most of you.
Well, some of us forget.
And these, of course, are annual flowers that we do plant every year. And Tim Laurie and I planted these on a real hot day. We started in the middle, and I worked one way and she worked the other, which made it very, very pretty. But come fall, that'll all be dead and it'll all have to be removed. More shrubs, of course. And then we have just a small perennial garden over here that is really, really spreading. And of course, we'll have to divide and separate some of these. This one with the purple flowers was just planted this year, and it has grown and spread almost too much. I don't know if I like it that much, but we'll see how it lives over the winter. Perhaps next winter it'll die.
Well, here we are again. What do you remember about the past 5 years?
Oh, golly, many, many things. One thing is the 3 youngest children were married in the last 5 years. No, I guess that's wrong, too. Peggy was married in 88, wasn't she? Well, anyway, Bob was married almost 4 years ago, and Barb almost 3 years ago. And so, consequently, we have 9 more grandkids since then. They range from Matt, who will be 12 next month, down to Catherine, who just turned a year old last Monday. So it's a very active place. 4 years ago on November 6th, it will be on November 6th, 4 years since we had a car accident. Now, it wasn't anything really severe, but yet I did receive whiplash, which caused me many, many hours of pain. I went to a chiropractor for quite some time. But now I've learned how to live with it, how to deal with it. I think it did cause back problems as well. But again, I've learned how to accept that. So that's a thing of the past. It's something that I can handle.
So what about the nursery?
The nursery?
I hate to put you on the spot, but what is it? How about the next 5 years?
The next 5 years could be interesting because I kind of think we're on the downhill swing of this. I kind of think in the next 3 years or so might see some changes. Depends on how our health holds out. But it's getting to be very hard work. We're getting very, very slow. And so, who knows? but we're kind of in the back of our mind thinking maybe when I turn 62, we might think of doing something different. Which will be kind of difficult to do because children, especially the grandchildren, do not want us to leave here. I remember Kelly saying one time when I asked her what she would do if Grandpa and Grandma didn't live here, and she turned to me and said, I'd cry, and she just looked miserable. So I don't talk about it anymore because they all really love to run and play in their big secret hideout, which they will tell you about. The nursery year this year has been very, very good for us, to us. It's been hard, but it has been one of our better years. Not as good as 1981, but it has been good. We still hope to sell quite a bit this fall, of course. We would like to get a different vehicle to replace our Nova, but that's not right away. It'll come.
Okay, it's time to go back to the people. The Price family is just based on people. Let's go and interview, not the oldest, let's go to the youngest and see what's going on in their lives. Here we are. Well, 89 was a good year when we made the first one. What's been going on since then?
Well, I married the guy I was dating at the last video. And since then we've had Stephanie. And
She's so cute.
we're expecting again in October, so I'm 7 months along at this point. This
And?
is Dave. Go ahead, take it away, Dave.
Dave, where you living at? You've moved around a little bit.
We're stuck in Cody right now.
Where he teaches, come on, you know. Pretend like
Well,
I don't know you.
He pretends he's
Yeah,
a teacher.
okay,
but,
y'all don't know me, so we're up in Cody, Nebraska, up in the northern Sand Hills. I'm the ag teacher up there. Also teach art, and soon this winter, early spring, I'll be a wrestling coach.
Oh my.
And
Not for school.
what else do I do?
Iron art.
That's it. Yeah, I've got my own little iron art business, and that's about it.
Speaking of iron art, let me show you some of his work. If you want to buy some, please feel free just to pick up anytime you want. Matter of fact, I can highly recommend it. We've even got some. Of course, that was a gift, but lovely shop, lovely shop. Well, any idea what the future? Any plans besides having a baby?
Having a baby, that's about it. Someday having a real home instead of a trailer house.
They have a ranch,
Yeah, that's your idea.
but just taking it day by day.
We'll move on. Bye.
Bye.
You know, one of the more interesting things about any family is the cars they drive. Old Shiv. Let me give you a close-up of old Shiv, okay? Still going, still active. Still parked right in the driveway to close everything. The van, still going, many, many years of service. Let's see. Barb and Dave's pickup. Tim and Lori's. Connie and Mike's new van. Tom and Nancy's van. The blue pickup which you saw. Oh, the tractor's back there somewhere. There's Tim's awesome pickup. Tim Paul's car. Wherever there's a mob, you got to find out what's going on. Looks like Tim and Bob are getting the doghouse for their Bob and Lori's dog, and draws attention, doesn't it?
Good girl.
Well, here we go again. We're moving up the ladder, going from youngest to oldest in this case, and let's see who this little pup belongs to. Hi. Well, 89 was just a dandy year. I don't know the girl on your right there, Bob. You want to introduce her?
Girl on my right is the lovely and gracious Lori Ann Price, who I married